I want to bring in now Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. She was in the courtroom as the verdicts were read. Chanley, good afternoon. Tell us, please, what that was like.
Julie, what a moment inside the courtroom, standing room only. People were not allowed inside the gallery because it was so jam-packed with family members of victims in this case, witnesses, those that testified in this trial, those that were injured by Darrell Brooks last November during the Waukesha Christmas parade, and it was starkly silent. There were at least a dozen deputies flanking all parts of the walls of the gallery as well as around Darrell Brooks, who sat there stoically, of course, had to raise one last subject matter jurisdiction before the jury walked in. And the jury did not seem to look towards the defendant as they made their way to the courtroom to hand over the verdict forms. Family members started clutching each other at those times as the judge took several minutes to ensure that those verdict forms were correctly and properly filled out. The foreperson who handed them over was one of the male jurors who probably is in his 40s, and I noticed him throughout the trial emotional at a lot of the testimony, especially when graphic videos were played. And of course, the verdicts were read. This is the first time I've really been in a courtroom where the first guilty verdict is read and there is complete silence inside the courtroom. No gasp, no audible cries, no sobs whatsoever, which surprised me because I was expecting, with so many people in there, for it to become loud. There were several heads that went down into people's hands, but no noise. And the jurors, after the first guilty was read, I noticed at least two heads turned towards the gallery as if to also expect some sort of response audibly from the gallery, and there wasn't any, but then they would look with that guilty saying, almost like, "This is for you guys," sitting out there. And then after that second guilty was read for intentional homicide, there was an outburst. Let's watch.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 2 of the information. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
Burn in hell, you piece of...
Hey, you are to be removed right now. You will not do that.
He was quickly removed from the courtroom. I tried to catch up with him. He would not talk, of course, on camera, visibly shaking, visibly upset. He had tears in his eyes. Clearly a relative, someone who's been in that gallery throughout this trial, upset and wanted to let his feelings known to everyone. So then after he was removed and the verdicts were continued to be read, it was extra quiet inside the courtroom. Again, one by one. It wasn't until count 28 where you could audibly hear sobs from the gallery and soft sniffles. Count 35, there was a woman who leaned forward almost out of the seat, sobbing uncontrollably at that count. So it was really long verdict, but it was one where you could see gallery members, as the guilties were read, nodding their head up and down like this in agreement with the jury that was taking them in. And as everyone was dismissed, there is hustle and bustle throughout this courthouse, Julie. I have to say, there's media not only from here in the state of Wisconsin, but all over the nation. If you go out front of the courthouse, there are dozens of media cameras chasing people down as they leave this courthouse, trying to garner interviews, any sort of soundbite. But we do have a couple of those that we've talked to and our affiliate, WTMJ, but also there's a press conference that's going to be held here at 2 p.m. Eastern with prosecutors and members of those victims' families, who I actually watched enter the holding room where they've been watching and waiting, who also might give statements as well.
All right. Chanley, anything else important to know about this? Anything that happened in the gallery? Because our cameras, of course, as you know, aren't able to show any of it, so we couldn't see the reactions. How about after the fact, once the courtroom was supposedly cleared? Did anybody hang around? Anything you saw? Any discussions that you were able to kind of hear happening?
After the jury left and the court dismissed, the bailiffs were very orderly in how we could leave the courtroom. I was delayed. I had to wait for the victims' families. They were allowed to exit first, so we were blocked as they left. And then the members of the public and members of the media could then leave the courtroom. But it was silent. Nobody said anything. There were hugs, of course, and people comforting each other, but no conversations, no prolonged wait inside that courtroom. Everyone was out really quickly, and then they either left or they went to the room where they're allowed to have their privacy, and that's where they watched this trial unfold near the prosecutor's office in this courthouse, and I guess probably anticipating the press conference, Julie.
Sure. We understand 2 p.m. Eastern time that is going to happen, and then on Monday the parties will head back to the courtroom, right, for a scheduling conference?
That's right, the judge, and this is a motion from the defendant, Darrell Brooks. He asked that the sentencing not be immediate yesterday morning, and she said she would most likely do that. She confirmed that today, that she would have the parties back in court on Monday to discuss when to have this, because there are victims here. It's a scheduling issue, and so this gives time for prosecutors and Darrell Brooks, if he wants to have someone speak for him or himself, to garner availability when that could happen. And they're going to meet on Monday to decide when the sentencing hearing will be had and how they're going to do that. And because there are so many victims, a lot can't be here in person, so the judge did confirm with prosecutors that some of those statements can be made via Zoom and electronically inside the courtroom as well, Julie.
Sure. All right. Chanley Painter live for us in Waukesha. Thank you for all of that.